Most people doing intermittent fasting never reach it. They stop at 16 hours, eat their first meal, and move on believing the work is done. But the repair process they've been fasting for? It hasn't started yet. If that's you, consistent, patient, doing everything right, and still waiting for something deeper to shift, you are not failing. You are stopping 2 hours too early, every single time. In this video, I'm taking you through what actually happens inside your body, hour by hour, from the moment you stop eating. And I'm going to show you exactly where the biology changes after 45 and why those extra hours are not optional. This is especially relevant if you're in your 40s, 50s, or 60s, and you've noticed that the same fasting window that felt powerful at 30 doesn't work the same way anymore. That plateau is real. It's not your fault. Almost all the foundational intermittent fasting research was done on younger subjects. The guidelines were never built for your biology. What I want to do today is walk through 4 distinct phases of a fast: the opening 12 hours, then hours 12 to 16, then the window between 16 and 18 that most people never reach, and finally, what happens when you do. Each phase has its own biology. After 45, each has its own timing. The gap between stopping at hour 16 and making it to hour 18 is the difference between approaching the most important moment in the fast and actually crossing it. You've been showing up 16 hours every day, and somewhere in the back of your mind you're asking, shouldn't I feel more different by now? That question deserves a real answer, and it starts here. A fast isn't a pause. It's a sequence 4 distinct phases, each one unlocking the next. Picture a city overdue for deep maintenance work. The repair crew exists. They're equipped and ready, but they operate under one rule they cannot break. They only go out when the streets are completely empty. Until then, they stay parked in the depot and wait. Hours 0 through 12. Traffic is still moving. Your body is running on glycogen quick-access fuel stored in your liver and muscles. The repair crew is watching from a distance. They are not moving yet. After 45, insulin takes slightly longer to clear from the bloodstream, and as long as it's circulating, the metabolic street stays congested. The sequence is identical to what it was at 30. The clock just runs slower. Hours 12 through 16. Traffic starts thinning. Your liver begins converting stored fat into ketones, an alternate fuel your brain runs on particularly well. The crew hears the signal. But after 45, growth hormone, which tells the body to preserve muscle while burning fat, declines by roughly 14% per decade after 30. The signal is quieter now. The crew needs a clearer road before they commit to moving out. So what happens when the street finally goes silent? Hours 16 through 18. Your body activates autophagy, cellular self-repair. Damaged proteins get broken down, worn-out components recycled, accumulated debris cleared. Your cells stop waiting for new inputs and start working with what's already there. I call this moment the repair threshold, the point where the maintenance shift actually begins. After 45, cortisol tends to run a little higher as a resting baseline. Elevated cortisol suppresses autophagy signaling. The crew still comes out, they just need the street to stay empty longer before they trust it. 16 hours parks you at the edge of the repair threshold, not past it. Past hour 18, the crew is fully at work. A 2022 randomized controlled trial in the journal Nutrition followed 50 women with an average age of 51 through a 24-hour fasting protocol 3 days a week. They measured autophagy markers directly. A full 24-hour fast measurably increased SQSTM1, a verified autophagy signaling protein. Not in mice, not theoretical. In middle-aged women, in a controlled trial, the biology was always there. It just needed the streets empty long enough. For the first time in perhaps years, your body's maintenance crew is running a full shift, not just keeping up, actually clearing the backlog. So what does it actually cost to keep stopping just before the repair threshold, year after year? Autophagy isn't about weight. It's the body's quality control system at the cellular level. Every day, your cells accumulate damaged proteins and dysfunctional mitochondria. When you're young, the crew runs regular shifts. The streets stay clean. But after 45, the balance tips in both directions at once. Cellular damage speeds up while autophagy slows down. You're producing more debris. You're clearing less of it. That is the biological mechanism of aging, not a metaphor. The mechanism. In year 1, you feel it as friction. Energy slightly less reliable. Recovery a day longer than it used to be. Mental clarity you remember but can't quite locate anymore. Nothing dramatic enough to name. Just less than before. After 3 to 5 years, the friction becomes pattern. Metabolism slows in ways that don't respond to the usual adjustments. Sleep grows lighter. Inflammatory markers creep upward. These aren't separate problems, they share a root. After a decade, the accumulation is systemic. Researchers have connected chronically reduced autophagy to accelerated cognitive decline and rising insulin resistance that compounds year after year without a clear point of origin. A 2024 secondary analysis in the journal NPJ Metabolic Health and Disease put numbers on this. Among participants with lower baseline growth hormone, average age 45.3 extended fasting dropped HOMAIR scores by 1.04. The control group scores rose by 0.60 over the same 26 weeks. The people furthest along the aging curve had the most to recover, but only when the fast crossed the threshold. That is not a story about aging winning. That is a story about what the crew can still do when you finally give them enough time to work. 2 studies worth staying with. The 2022 trial in nutrition took 50 women with an average age of 51 and randomized them into 2 24-hour fasting protocols, 3 non-consecutive days per week for 8 weeks. The researchers weren't measuring weight. They were measuring autophagy markers directly in skeletal muscle tissue. A full 24-hour fast increased SQSTM1, a verified autophagy signaling protein, not modeled, not estimated, measured in middle-aged women in a controlled trial. The mechanism was real and active. The second study, the 2024 secondary analysis from NPJ Metabolic Health and Disease, isolated the subgroup with lower baseline growth hormone from a larger randomized trial. Average age, 45.3. Over 26 weeks of intermittent fasting, mean insulin resistance decreased by 1.04. The matched control group's insulin resistance increased by 0.60 in the same period, same time frame. No other variable changed. The fasting duration was the difference. The research doesn't say fasting becomes less effective with age. The mechanisms are still there, still responsive. They just operate on a longer clock. Before we get into this, everything here is based on peer-reviewed research and is for educational purposes only, not medical advice. If you have an existing condition, check with your doctor first. I call this the after 45 repair window, a 3-step approach built around the biological sequence, not the lifestyle advice. Step 1. Threshold extension. After 45, 16 hours approaches the repair threshold without crossing it. The biological target is 18 hours, which means delaying your first meal by 2 hours from your current endpoint. Nothing else about your eating changes. That 2-hour shift is the gap between arriving at the threshold and actually triggering what you came for. Step 2. Repair signal recognition. During a longer fast, your body sends a signal when the metabolic switch completes a kind of stillness, a clarity distinctly different from hunger. In younger adults, this typically arrives around hours 12 to 14. After 45, it tends to arrive closer to 15 or 16. When you can identify that sensation, you've found your personal threshold. The clock becomes a starting point. Your physiology becomes the map. Step 3. Post-fast absorption protocol. After crossing the repair threshold, your cells are maximally receptive. Think of soil after a long dry season. When rain finally comes, it doesn't pool on the surface, it goes straight in. What you eat in the first hour after an extended fast is absorbed more completely, utilized more efficiently than at any other moment in the day. Prioritize protein and complex carbohydrates. This is when the investment pays out. In weeks 1 and 2, expect sharper mental clarity during the fasting window and more pronounced hunger before breaking it. That's recalibration, not a problem. By weeks 3 and 4, sleep tends to improve as cortisol regulation settles. By weeks 6 to 8, the marker to track is not the scale. It's your energy at 3 in the afternoon. That window is often where cellular maintenance first shows up in daily life. The shift that matters from today is not a new schedule, it's a different understanding of what fasting actually is. It isn't a food restriction strategy. It's a maintenance practice, one that generates metabolic benefits as a byproduct. When you understand it that way, the question changes. You stop asking how to fast to lose weight and start asking whether you're giving your body's repair crew enough uninterrupted time to finish the job. After 45, that crew is not weaker. The research suggests it's actually more responsive, ready to work, waiting for the right conditions. Those conditions are 2 hours past where you've been stopping. That is the distance between the window that makes you feel better and the window where your body starts buying back years of healthy function. If you want to understand how the repair threshold connects to the rest of the longevity picture, what happens to your mitochondria over time, how inflammatory markers shift with age, what the research shows about slowing biological aging from the inside, subscribe. That's the territory this channel is built to map.